Well, welcome to today's edition of Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Podcast. I'm Dan Edwards, managing broker of the Eastside Real Estate team. And this podcast is your go-to source for all things related to living, working, and playing on the East Side. Today is Wednesday, February 1st. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Feel free to comment, like, smash, follow the bell, all the stuff here on the Instagram and subscription, and I think we're on Facebook, not Instagram. But please feel free to comment and share with your friends. If you are listening to a recorded version, don't call in. Plus, we don't actually have call-in people to the podcast. That was like from talk radio. So sorry, we're not talk radio. But you can subscribe anywhere podcasts are subscribable. So Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you got out there, please do subscribe, and you get some weekly updates from what's happening around the east side of the greater Seattle area. Today, we're going to be welcoming back our good friend Tucker Maxwell of Guild Mortgage. Let's see, I've got the wrong show sheet. That's why. And we're also going to be having our friend Ellen Vieira. Whoa. See who's not. Where's it at? It disappeared. It's awkward when you're live and you can't find your document and you can't remember where it's at. Okay. Watch here. I found it. There we go. We're better. Eileen Vieira, Eileen Walker Vieira from Memory Books by Eileen. Back on track. This is a live show and I love it. So before we get to our guests, let's start with some real talk. And today we're going to be talking about why it might make sense to move before spring. So a lot of buyers are asking out there, they're kind of looking at the inventory now. I've had this question, hey, should we just wait till spring? And I get that question all the time. I get that question from both buyers and sellers. And the answer is quite simply is, when it makes sense, when you find what it is you're looking for, then you buy the home. So I always believe it's good for a buyer to be prepped and ready to go so that they don't have to wonder if they qualify for the homes that they might be seeing. And because we are in a state of the market now where inventory is still pretty low. Like, even though there was this huge shift in the market in the second half of 2022, what we didn't see is a bunch of people dump homes on the market. What we saw is those that were selling stay longer, and those that were buying back out of the market. So in previous changes in the market, those changes came from different sources. The most important one in 2008, that change was from a flood of inventory that needed to be sold on the market. And so when the flood of inventory happens, prices drop and times on market drop. Opportunity shows up for investors and buyers. In the type of change we had, it was interest rates going up. And that actually didn't change how many homes went on the market. It just changed how long they stayed on the market. And some people just chose that they weren't going to sell. So they decided not to sell. So that's kind of the market that we find ourselves in. So when it comes to spring, well, typically the spring market starts a little after April here in the Pacific Northwest. One of the challenges with the spring market a little after April is that, there are also a lot more buyers that hit the market at the same time. So when buyers hit the market at the same time, then you actually end up having more competition. So there's that. The interesting part is those sellers that are on the market right now, especially January and February, well, they need to sell, right? It's not a we're choosing to sell in the spring. They've been on the market a little bit, and or they're choosing this time to sell because they need to, because they have a place they need to be. So long story short, and the bottom line is if you're in a good position to make a move, get yourself pre-approved, be in a position to look for that home, and understand that the closer we get to the spring market, the more buyers that will come out of the woodwork, the more challenge it may be to negotiate a good price. And you may even, it was reported by Redfin that we've seen the return of multiple offers. I'm not here to say multiple offers are where it's going to be going forward, but you could certainly see how increased buyer competition that we've seen from interest rates that bounce down around 6 are bringing more people out who are serious about getting a home on the east side. And that is your Real Talk segment. All right. After this short commercial break, we're going to be welcoming Tucker Maxwell, and we're going to actually get a little deeper on the mortgage philosophy stuff, and we're going to talk about the Fed. So come back after this short commercial break.
Do your walls have the doldrums? Why not fix that with some beautiful original artwork? Give your friends and family something to talk about, ponder, and enjoy. Lavish some beauty on them and yourself. You deserve it. Pamela Beer has helped countless clients find the inspirational piece to evoke just the right memory or feeling to their space. Art consultant Kathy says,
Pam's artwork is uplifting, colorful, and highly imaginative, always providing enjoyment and hope to patients and staff in our many hospitals and clinics. Her sense of joy and her commitment to her sense of color and design just add extra enjoyment to everything she does. Thank you, Pam, for all the healing that your artwork gives to the world.
To learn more, follow or message Pamela on Instagram at Pamela_K_beer or Facebook at Pamela K. Beer Art.
Welcome back to the show. I am joined by our good pal and friend, Tucker Maxwell. Welcome back, Tucker.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Hey, I think we owe it to the people out there to kind of get a little deeper on this mysterious organization that keeps raising interest rates or lowers interest rates or meets and talks about economic impact in banking. So let's talk about the Fed. What is even the Fed?
Yeah, so the Fed is the Federal Reserve, and specifically the folks that are raising the interest rates that we're hearing about is the Federal Open Market Committee. And those are the Federal Reserve chair or the board of the Federal Reserve. And these individuals sit across the country at different Federal Reserve locations. And they meet regularly throughout the year to control the Fed policy. And when they adjust rates, it impacts banking, interest rates across the board and different things. But they really only control one rate.
That's it. So there's these people in a bank all over creation, and they basically just sit, all over the United States, not creation, and they basically just talk about the one rate.
Yeah, so they handle multiple facets of the Federal Reserve and handling money, printing money, things like that. Their major role is to control inflation. So how much money or the supply of money is readily available for the U.S., and they try to control that to control inflation.
So they use the banking interest rate to help control inflation.
Exactly. Yeah, they handle these high level rates that then trickle down to the rest of the rates that these banks offer to consumers.
Okay, so is that the only thing they control, or they also control? I mean, it's monetary policy, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So how much does that impact interest rates?
Yeah, so there's not a direct correlation between their decisions and mortgage rates. Just talking specifically about mortgage rates, what they control is the overnight rate that banks use to borrow money from one another. So every night, banks have to have a certain level of liquidity on their banks, on the documents. You know, when they settle up every night, they have to have so much liquidity. So on a day-to-day basis, these large banks across the United States are borrowing from one another to have so much liquidity on their books. And they control the rate at which those banks borrow from one another.
So with the recent decrease in the mortgage rates, are we seeing more demand in the terms of buyers?
Absolutely. Yeah. So today they announced a 0.25% rate hike to that Fed rate, which was exactly what we anticipated. So that was good news. So I think there's a lot of people out there that, hear rates are rising, the Fed increased rates, but that was priced in. We knew that was coming. And so it actually has caused an improvement in mortgage rates. And we actually today saw a price improvement midday where lenders across the country lowered the mortgage rates at a midday price adjustment.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some Wall Street Journal headlines. So we've got stocks rally after Fed decision. NASDAQ gains 2%. So it looks like the Fed slows its tightening. So by doing just a quarter point, right? Because every raise is basically more expensive to borrow money overnight. So that's how it. And then when you have the stock market grow, then demand on mortgage bonds falls. So it keeps, am I stating that right? It keeps the mortgage rate down.
You're exactly right, Dan. That's exactly what happened. And
I'm no
that's
economist. I just play a realtor on TV. So
yeah, no, you're spot on. What's really interesting about this is it's the media spin on it. So today the bond market has been up and down with extreme volatility because a Fed member gets out of that meeting and makes a comment to one media outlet. Another one says something different, and everybody's reaction to these comments cause bonds to go up and down and stocks to rally as well. So it's not necessarily just what the Fed does. It's the media reaction to their decisions and what they're saying that then leads to this volatility that we're experiencing right now. But the good news is we should see mortgage rates continue to drop as this tightening, if you will, loosens up.
well, and that's just going to drive our buyer competition in this market. Good news, my stocks are up too. So I just checked my Robinhood account. I'm like, hey, that's cool. Yep. But I've been watching it for a long time. So.
Exactly.
All right. So what are some quick tips for competing in these hot markets?
Yeah, one, Dan, I think you nailed it in your Real Talk segment, is getting pre-approved sooner rather than later. When the right home comes along, you want to be ready to move on it. Right now, we can't expect homes to last or sit on the market like we did in October, November, and December. So it'd be really disheartening for somebody to miss out on a home that they really love simply because they didn't get prepared. So the first thing is get pre-approved and really understand your numbers. Know what those monthly payments look like. Know how much you're going to bring to the table to buy the home so that in a competitive situation, you can move quickly for the home, because acting quick can oftentimes be the difference maker in winning an offer or not.
Yeah, for sure. Acting quickly. So I am curious, if you look back at January with purchase applications compared to last January, how was it, up or down? What was it?
Yes, Dan, we were up to about 25% as an industry over January of 2022, which is pretty remarkable considering rates in January of 2022 were at a fraction of what we were this January. So that
was it like the last week of January where you guys did that? Because I do understand it was down for a bit, right?
Yeah, it really was the last 2 to 3 weeks. So, we did have a little bit of a hangover after the holidays, if you will. And then, it really picked up in this last week. It was alarming, just a little bit of a rate improvement and the media saying interest rates are falling. And that really drove purchase applications in the latter part of the month.
I have to say, this is the most confounding market that I've seen in a long time. I think it was almost a year ago, it was like, well, we've had 2 down months of GDP. So that's what normally people have said, it's a recession, but we're not saying that. And yet inflation is rampant and people, can't afford, well, they can, but the cost of gas, of eggs and all that stuff is up. And then suddenly the housing market starts to echo that, only for that to be pulled back again. And, inflation, it's slowing, but it's still high. So it's like it's one of those things that I would say, to try and predict what to do, how to do, when to do it. There's a lot of factors, a lot of different changing factors, and it's not easy. And having somebody like Tucker that understands what's going on, an experienced real estate agent like what we have with the Eastside Real Estate Team, to help guide you, to help, quite honestly, tune out the noise so that you can focus on finding a place that will help you build your kind of home and equity, and a place to raise kids if you choose to do that, or a place to kick the kids out, so you can just downsize, whatever it is. But having professionals help you, I think it's definitely good to have people with experience like Tucker. So Tucker, how does everybody get a hold of you?
Yep, on all the major platforms, Tucker Maxwell, 425-757-9202. My phone's always on. So really all the social media platforms. But Dan, thank you so much. I want to echo what you just said real quick. And just the fact that you do this podcast every week, I think that's going to be critical for people, because it's going to be a roller coaster. We're going to be all over the board. And so checking back in with you on a regular basis is probably the best for people.
Yeah, it's like, hey, do I sell now? Do I not sell? Do I buy? It's like, well, I don't know. It really does depend. So
ask me in 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. All right, cool. Well, I sure will have you back next week. So after this short commercial break, we're going to welcome in Eileen Walker. We're going to go from digital money to tactile memories. So you're not going to want to miss this next segment. Come back after this very short commercial break.
Are you tired of not knowing where your money is going? Do you feel like you start getting ahead on your finances, then get hit by an unexpected expense and feel behind? Doug Peterson with Get Priorities Straight helps guide you to getting your money to do what you want it to do instead of wondering where it went. Doug has helped ambitious, busy, successful people be delighted by handling their money wisely. To have a conversation with Doug, call 206-264-4424 or email meeting@letsgps.com or info@getprioritiesstraight.com.
And you are listening / watching the Seattle Eastside Real Estate Team podcast. I am now joined with our good friend Eileen Walker Vieira. I'm going to give you a brief introduction. So Eileen is the founder and chief creation officer, the CCO of her own company, Memory Books by Eileen, located in South Bellevue, Washington. She is a professional scrapbooker and photo bookmaker for people who don't have the time or interest to create it for themselves. She sells supplies and hosts hybrid workshops / classes for DIYers. She's been in the industry creating albums for herself and others for over 20 years. She and her husband, Tony, have been married 32 years. Congratulations on that. They have a 32-year-old son. That would be weird. 22-year-old son, Ben. She has lived in Bellevue since moving from the Bay Area in 2004. One thing I've always felt like Seattle and Bay Area are kind of like sister cities. You know, it's like it's a big sister and the little. We're like the little sister. She loves traveling, wine tasting, playing board and card games, and her goal is to visit all 30 MLB parks. All right, what did you do last? What are kind of some of your highlights recently?
Oh, from the ballpark. I went to New York last September, so I got in Yankee Stadium and Citi Field.
Is it Citi Field? Is that what it's called?
It's called Citi Field, right?
They're always changing, right? So you can never really know.
Oh, yes. All of the time. Absolutely.
Well, hey, Eileen, thank you so much for coming on the show. This is kind of a fun little break, and I think it's one that our world needs more of, right? So our topic
Thanks for having me.
Our topic today is your memories, their cloud, where should your photos live, right? So let's kind of talk about that. Like first off, just kind of give me the overview. You've been on the show before, but I want our listeners that haven't heard you recently. What is your major product that you provide?
Well, I actually have three things that I do.
Perfect.
So I have the service where I make books for people, scrapbooks and photo books and memory books. And then I host events, workshops, and classes for the DIYers who want to do it themselves. And then I sell products. I sell scrapbooks and paper and pages and stickers. And then I also sell digital stuff. And I'm going to talk about that today. That's why I said, where should your photos live?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So obviously most people now have their photos in the cloud. I mean, it used to be your photos, your camera, and then you put it and then you upload it now it's just there already. Right. So let's talk about the benefits of that iCloud storage or any cloud storage.
Sure. So like Google, Meta, Apple, almost, a lot of people have platforms to help people store their photos, right? There's like almost a limitless basement of storage available for people. So there's a lot of space. So that's a benefit for people and access to it, like from anywhere. Another huge benefit to that is offsite storage. So, before when we had our camera and our film, we put everything in a box. And if something happened, we had a flood or a fire, then it was gone forever. But now that we have this immense offsite storage capability, that's a huge benefit of the cloud. And then when we were in France, my family went to France last year. And before we went, I uploaded copies of our passports and our vaccination cards to the cloud, because I thought if our passports got lost or stolen, all I needed was my phone and internet, and I can prove that we had passports.
Oh, that's brilliant. I didn't even think about that. What a great
important
tip.
documents. So not only photos, but important documents you can store in the cloud too.
That's really good. Everybody, well, not everybody, but 60% of the people have iPhones, and iPhones come with, the cloud storage. And along those lines, our family created a share, right? So we could take photos and share it to the family drive, so that if we were doing something, we wanted to share more about the family photos, we had them there. So it was kind of nice one of the other benefits. So what are the drawbacks?
So there's also drawbacks to cloud storage. I read an article in December of last year, so 2022, in the New York Times, by a journalist who she entitled her article, "Your Memories, Their Cloud." And she went on this trek to get to grab all of her documents from all of the different cloud storage spaces that she had things saved to. And because she was fearful that she might get blocked out of her cloud storage somehow. And there was a dad in San Francisco that had a toddler, and his Google account got deleted because he took naked pictures of his toddler for the pediatrician, and Google didn't think that was appropriate, and they totally they deleted his account. So whoops, right. Not that happens all the time, but you could accidentally get locked out or purposely locked out of your account. But the other thing is that because there's so much storage available everywhere, a lot of times people do that. We have things in Google, we have things in iCloud, we have things in all over the place, Dropbox or wherever. And it's scattered, so we can't find it. So it makes it hard to retrieve. So this journalist was going around trying to retrieve stuff. She learned about this service Google provides called Takeout, and that helps you retrieve data that you have served and that you have on servers all over the place, right?
Oh, wow.
That's what cloud is a bunch of servers at a bunch of different companies. And so she was looking to all of her digital landlords to try to obtain and retrieve all of her files. And she was able to do that. But another drawback is that sometimes companies shut down, right? They go out of business, or they decide they don't want to be in the photo business anymore. Like recently, Costco, a lot of people, not that that's a platform, but that's where people go and they print their pictures. A lot of times they think, oh, my pictures are safe. They're over there at Costco. I don't have to worry about them. Well, guess what? Recently, Costco decided they didn't want to be in the photo business anymore, and they transferred those clients to Shutterfly. So I have a lot of people coming to me now going, where do I print my pictures? Do I really want to print them at Shutterfly, or should I print them someplace else? So things change, and so that can be a drawback. Those are some of the drawbacks.
Yeah. So Eileen, from a matter like there's a lot of different ones. Are they all the same? I mean, what are all of them created just the same way, or what are some of the differences between these iCloud stories?
Well, they're not all created equal. What they do share in common is they all give you access, mobile access, to their servers, to the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. They all provide some kind of collaboration ability, like on Google Docs. I use that to get pictures from my clients from all over the United States when I do a memory book for them. So access, collaboration, and some even let you make GIFs with your pictures, right? Mm-hmm. Not all, but some. But there's one platform that guarantees like triple backup of your pictures, and your video and your audio and anything you have on their platform. They provide updates that they'll migrate technology as technology changes, because not everybody guarantees that they'll do that. They digitize, they have organizational services, they allow you to share. They're basically a digital safe deposit box. And you own your storage, you don't rent it. So they're not digital landlords. So you know, in your business, you understand the
Yeah.
value of owning
Real estate.
versus renting, right?
Now
So
hold
I mean,
on.
yeah,
Like you own it.
you own it. Yeah, not rent it. So this
Okay.
is a platform called Forever, and forever.com. And I'm an affiliate of that. So remember, I said I sell products. I sell the paper and the stickers and the tangible stuff. But I also through this company sell permanent cloud storage space and digitizing services and organizational services and the ability to make your own photo books yourself if you want to. And I teach classes to do that too.
And so before we go off that,
Sure.
will we be able to have a affiliate link for you so that we make
Yes.
sure we send that out if people want to
Yeah,
sign up?
sure. I would love to do that. Yes, to give that, because that's a way people can. And then I'm the person they can come to for help when they say, "Wait, how do I do this? How do I send my items into digitize? And how do I organize and create tags for my photos?" So it comes with a person too. So
Oh,
sometimes
that's
you
pretty
can send
good
things.
because I could say that's pretty overwhelming for me, right? Is to just like I've just, I mean, we're always taking pictures with our phones and the quality of the pictures, we both go back a few years. So if you can remember the quality of the pictures we were taking on our phones before versus now, like, man, it's astronomical, but let alone just to try and sort, that's why I kind of like Google Photos, because I can type in a person's name and they do the face recognition a little bit.
Yes.
And I can maybe type a location, but as far as like tagged events, forget it. So you help people with the organization of the digital images?
Yes, I can. So where, like, if you go to Google Photos, you don't have somebody that you can call up and say, "Wait a minute, how do I do this?" Or or how do I do that? And I get that from other people too. Sometimes people go to Shutterfly to do photo books, and they're like, "But I want to ask somebody a question, and there's nobody to ask a question of." So I've gotten customers from that platform because I'm a person that they can ask questions of and get help.
So I mean,
help from.
I get the general sense of why you would organize photos, but why is it important to organize photos, like tag them and stuff like that?
Right. Well, Google hired Marie Kondo. They did. Their storage department and in Google hired Marie Kondo, and she said that it's important to label and organize your photos. So, and your important documents and some of your emails.
I recently heard she has a 3-year-old now and her house is messy. I heard that.
I don't know. I'm not that into Marie
Or no,
Kondo,
her third child, and now her house is messy.
Messy.
So
Okay.
she's like, I'm just dealing with the children.
So now she's normal, right? Before she wasn't, and now she is. But she said that so people can locate their images that spark joy, right?
Nice.
So so you need to be able to find things so that you can enjoy those memories, right? So so that's really important in my business. But people want to either recall a memory, but in my business, I want to do something with it. I'm scrapbooking it, or I'm preserving it for myself or for my clients, my Memory Books by Eileen clients all over the United States, or I'm teaching people to do that, to scrapbook and preserve their memories.
I think it makes sense to scrapbook. I really do. Like my wife has several of our children when they were younger, and then we kind of just stop doing it. But nowadays you can kind of do these memory books, right? So should you print them out and do scrapbooks, or just do a memory book? What's the
well, so actually we're kind of like mixing our terms here, and I started it, so it's my fault. But so I called my company Memory Books by Eileen because I like the idea of a memory book, because I didn't want to just say scrapbooks by Eileen, because I don't just do scrapbooks. I also do these photo books too, right? So scrapbooks are those traditional photo albums we think of where we tape or glue pictures into a book, and we add paper or stickers, and we write and journal in our own handwriting about what we just did, or what our 5-year-old did, or whatever, right? So that's a scrapbook. And then under that umbrella of memory books, you have scrapbooks, and then you have photo books. And photo books, I have them behind me too, right? But so the photo book is one of these bound books where the pictures are pre-printed, and you know
Right.
everything you did before somewhere on some device is pre-printed on the book, on the pages, and it's thin and it's bound and you can't add anything else to it, right? It's, some people call it a coffee table book because it sits on your, a lot of times it'll sit on your coffee table. Now there's even a third kind of book here, which is very exciting to me as a professional scrapbooker, and it's called a digitally designed scrapbook. So it has the benefits of a scrapbook where you could move the pages around or add things into it, like maps and tickets and memorabilia and things that you want to keep in a scrapbook. But you create the pages online up in the Creative Memories Digital Designer. You do everything online, and then they print it on the scrapbook page and send it to you, and then you just insert it in your scrapbook. Now, I'm going to tell you a wild story. Coming home, so I was one of those people that got stuck in California, and because my flight got canceled as I was getting ready to board the flight. It got canceled because there wasn't a pilot, and so we jumped in the car from the Bay Area and we drove home 14 hours straight. Once we could find a car, we found the last car in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, that was for rent. We jumped in it and drove home. And so on this 14-hour trek home, I had this iPad. I was sitting in the back seat as my husband was driving, and my son was in the passenger seat. I was in the back seat, moving my memories from my photos from my library on my camera roll into the digital designer, because my iPad has cellular data, and I was organizing my pictures on the 14-hour trip home. So nice. So I could scrapbook digitally on my while we were driving down, up 5 or to get here. So I can scrapbook anywhere with doing this. Now, so for me, it's the best of both worlds, because I can do it anywhere. I can pick it up and put it down, and it's super fast and easy. And then when it comes to me, I can add my maps and my brochures and everything else I want to add into it. So it's like hybrid scrapbooking. So it's like a third kind. It's like this book behind me. You can see where my family's picture is in the front. So the cover can be customized, and everything inside is custom too. So that's like a third option. It's a blend of the two, and it's like the best of both worlds. So for people who don't have a lot of time and don't want to buy all the stuff and do that, but
if you're sitting somewhere like on an airplane, right, or traveling, you can sit there and do it, and that's really fun. That's really fun.
And then you just type your or you can still write on the pages. You can still stick stuff. It's but for me, I do 30 books a year for other people. Wow. And this is the way I can do my own book. Like it just, that's how it can work for me.
So so you do consulting, you help with the storage stuff, and then you can actually get hired to do it. So when should somebody say, hey, I'm just going to hire you?
Right. So when somebody would hire me when they don't have the time to do it or interest to do it themselves, or maybe they try. I was talking to Tucker before we got on, and he said sometimes they do it and they're not quite sure they like the outcome. So I had a man in California who started to make some pages with some software program, and he had done like half a dozen pages and he didn't like it, and then he looked me up and he found me, and we had a Zoom call, and he said, these are my pages, I don't like them, can you do better? And I'm like, I could do this, I could do that. He goes, okay, you're hired. And so So he tried to do it himself and it didn't work. So that's when someone would hire me, or just if they don't have the interest or time and they said, you can do it better, you can do it faster, I'll pay you to do it. So those are my customers. And what's nice is half of my business is men.
Well, I mean, there you go, because that probably as families, wives may be overwhelmed, right? And we got all this stuff, and you want to kind of look back at life a little bit and some people just may not find joy in doing that the way it's so clearly obvious that you do.
That I do. I have a lot of enthusiasm. A man hired me recently from Atlanta, and it wasn't even like family memories. He went on some Michelin star dates and with his friend, and he had all of these pictures of food, and he wanted to share these pictures with the woman he's been seeing, and he saved all the menus from the different places that he went.
What's interesting about that is like I started out in this conversation is everything's digital, right? We're talking about digital currency. We're talking about, buying a home. We sign documents digitally. And I think there's something to be said about stopping, sitting down, flipping through something and just decompressing. We need more of that. We need more of that.
We do. And it's
these times fly by so quickly.
Right. It does. The days are long, but the years are short, especially when you have young children. And so it's nice to be able to pull a book off the shelf and relive those moments because they do go by so fast. And it kind of has a way of like being little time machines, to take you back in time to a different time and place that you might not remember because sometimes it's a blur because we're so busy. Yeah. But this guy, Rich, he said some really nice things about me because he found me and he said, you had me at book a consult. Because he got to my website and it said book a call. He goes, I didn't have to make a phone call, wait for a call back, wait for an email back. I could get on your calendar. So he loved that. And then he said, when I looked at your website, I could tell that you were in business, that you were not a hobbyist, but you meant business. And so we had our appointment the next day and I worked with him back and forth on these Michelin star dinners with this gal. And then he wrote me, can I read the review that he wrote?
Yes, please, of course.
Okay, he said, I just completed a scrapbook project with Eileen and the entire experience was simply outstanding. Eileen brought an incredible level of creativity and enthusiasm to every interaction and the final product was excellent. The entire project was organized and communication was great. I cannot say enough great things about Eileen and her gifts for scrapbooking. So he was in Atlanta and we got this project together. I did it the digital way. I made a digital scrapbook because he wanted a scrapbook because he had these tangible menus from all of these places that he had been, almost all of them. And he sent them to me and he said, okay, now incorporate these with that. So I had to use, I had to plan ahead because all of these pages were going to be pre-printed when they came to me. So I had to plan ahead to know how and where I was going to put these menus, incorporate the physical menus on these digital pages. And it was a fabulous outcome. I mean, it came out great. So it used all my skills, right? The digital skills and the hands-on paper skills too.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing a testimonial. That's really helpful, right? Okay, so how do people get a hold of you if they want to do a scrapbook?
Okay, so they want me to do a scrapbook for them, or if they want to attend one of my events, everything's on my website.
Okay.
So they need to go to Memory Books by Eileen, EILEEN.com, and they can book a consult, just like I told you, Rich did, or they can go to that memorybooksbyeileen.com/events. It has all my workshops and my classes for right now for Q1. I'll add the Q2, 3, and 4 as it gets a little closer. But so that's on there. Examples of my work are on there. They can shop. If they go under shop, they can shop traditional for my Creative Memories website, or they can shop digital and go to my forever.com website.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate the conversation. You guys can find her, Memory Books by Eileen. I think you'll find that service fantastic. Obviously, working with somebody that really cares about what they do, and that's important. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. That concludes our show. Real quick, I just want to point out we got some fun events. I wanted to try and do something at the very end of the show, things that are happening on the East Side. So I kind of scrambled for something, and here's what I found. The Wintergrass Festival is always, actually, it has been for the last few years in Bellevue. So if you like good folks style music, tickets are on sale. You can go and check it out. They're going to be at the Hyatt Regency in Weston in Bellevue, February 23rd through the 26th. So I believe that's the last weekend in February. So that concludes our show. Thanks for watching Seattle's Eastside Real Estate Team's podcast. I am Dan Edwards, managing broker with the Eastside Real Estate Team. Have a wonderful week.